Prix, and a bit later on this afternoon we'll be seeing the final of that one. Of course, the final will be a 10-lapper. ATP tennis will be going across the country: Bordeaux, Lyon, Stockholm, Sao Paulo.
And that seems to be what the problem was with first South African home, Derek, in the first heat of the JVC Kart. How are you going to solve this problem?
Well, we went out in the first heat with brand new tyres, and I was expecting it to actually blister. Because normally we actually scrub the tyres first and then use them for the races. I thought we might run a bit short for the next heat and the final, so I'd rather put the new tyres on for the first heat. I think we should be okay now.
And it was a very, very tough race. You had to work hard for that fourth spot. When did this tyre blistering problem occur? Which lap?
I think it happened on about lap 4. Because on lap 4 I seemed to fall back a lot more than I did, you know, when Gonster and then Cleppy came past.
Yeah. Now, little bits of drops of rain and stuff falling, not a problem on slick tyres at the moment, no?
No, not at the moment, no. But if it does come down a lot more, then we will have a problem. They might stop the race, I don't know.
Well, I had a good look at your beautiful set of wets. You didn't try them out yesterday, did you?
No, we scuffed them in yesterday, got them ready for today.
Well, let's get our umbrellas ready. Hopefully not, though, but let's be prepared. I know you guys are. Thank you very much, Derek Irving.
Thanks very much.
Pretty worrying, though, just worrying what's going to happen to the weather. If you're on slick tyres, you'd need tread to get rid of the water when they're on wet roads, but if it's just the odd little spit, then they're going to be all right on their slick tyres. So that big chunk of rubber came out, it blistered and eventually flung that piece of rubber out, and then, of course, his handling went off, and he dropped back there to fourth position. So it's a determined Derek Irving. He's our most successful motorsportsman we ever had. 12 South African titles to his credit. I think he's increased that now to 13 in the 250 class, and another wildly interested spectator. That's the marshal just resting. They've been on duty here a long, long time. And his friend is now just woken and getting ready for the Kart Grand Prix. But they do a tremendous job here, well-trained marshals at Kyalami. And that's the pedals they have. The clutch is actually on the steering. You're looking at Derek Irving's kart. No, number 40 is Dimitri Familiaris from Rustenburg. And
doesn't sound like it, does it, Rog?
Right, there's Graham Cooper waiting to talk to somebody else as they push him out of sight. So our interviewee has just been pushed away from him, and that was Graham Corbin. And we'll get Graham back on the job right there. They're going to do a rolling start lap. The front row of the grid decides the pace of the start. That's the 4 drivers on the front row led by the pole man as they all get ready. Irving, I think you can expect a better performance this time. He's been overseas. He's been right up the front there with the Gronstra at the Dutch Grand Prix. The World Championships, of course, held at Silverstone at the Assen circuit, the motorcycle circuit in Holland, and also at Le Mans. Right, I think Graham is now caught up with the man. Let's hope they don't push him away this time as they go back down into the paddock area.
All right, well, I don't know whether Charles is going to be able to hear me. Charles Mavera, one of these South African riders. What was that first heat like for you guys?
Sorry, I can't hear you.
The first heat, what was that like?
Hectic.
Very hard work.
Yeah, very.
And the car going well now?
Very well, yeah.
All right, well, let's hope to get up there for the second heat.
Right, it's very difficult down there with all that noise, and welcoming back into our commentary box, Robert Langford, the man who changed the voice of commentating in South Africa. Robert back in the country now and very much in charge of karting and international karting. Robert, your choices for this one. Gronstra walked away this the last race, the first 8-lapper, but Derek Irving had those tyre problems. Expect him to come on strong in this one?
Well, I certainly hope so, because it'd be very good to have a 3, 4, 5-way. It was a good 2-way battle for the second half of the race in the first race. This one, I hope to see about 4 or 5 of them really battling it out all the way, and I think Gronstra is going to find it even more difficult. He had a lot of trouble with Cleppy in the first race, but he, with a really fantastic maneuver, taking him on the inside when it was hardly room there, but it was perfectly fair. They're moving off now on their rolling lap. They'll follow that pace car. They'll build up a good speed and warm their tires before the pace car slows them down so they can assume their proper formation with the 4-3-4-3 formation for the actual grid start. But there they go, weaving around, trying to get some heat into their tires. It's not today, a really hot day, so they need this pace lap. They need the pace lap at a reasonably good speed so that they can get some heat in those tires so they are really gripping, because these things need adhesion like nobody's business.
Right, let's just go back to the studio quickly. We'll be back with you in a moment.
The South African kart
Form, of course, at the end of the month, the Yellow Pages 200, when the German touring cars will join us, and then the circuit will be closed down until they start Formula One testing next year, after the delegation comes along and checks the circuit by the 31st of December. It has to be under the specifications and the rules that have been set down. The grid for the start of the second heat: Perry Gronstra is in pole position, Torge Klepper, then Dave Buttigieg, Derek Irving of South Africa, Simon Cullen, Marcel Angel, and then further back Jan Svaneby of Sweden, Louis van Schalkwyk, Neil Bernick, Alan Pritchard, Hector North, Grant Wenzel, Rainer Wimmer from Austria, and Rudolf Huber of Germany. And nice to have Jan Svaneby in South Africa. Of course, the boycotts against sports personalities from playing in Sweden was dropped recently, so that the South African tennis players could play in the Stockholm Open. And of course that helps as well, that they come back, and of course the motor racing fraternity are able to join us here in South Africa for today's event, and of course for events coming up in the future. There they are, coming down up to 40 kilometers an hour, or should I say down to 40 kilometers an hour rather, as they come round out of the double left-hander up towards Nashua, out of the Nashua corner, and then into the start-finish straight. The pace car has moved off the circuit into pit road, and you'll see them in a second or two come out and round. There they come. You can just see those helmets bobbing up over the top of the brow of the start-finish straight. Watch the light go to green, and then we'll see who gets off to a great start. It's on green. Looks like the world champion Perry Gronstra. Somebody's gone off at the back of the field. Perry Gronstra's got the inside line as they go into Budget Corner. It was definitely the man that won the first heat and the world champion Perry Gronstra who went out into the lead, but it looks as though he's been taken by Kleppy. Torge Klepper, I think, is in the lead. There is kart number 38. That is Ismail Abdul, the South African that's found himself in a spot of bother as he came down the main straight at the start there, going wide up towards Winfield Hill. Oh, and there's somebody else off as well. In fact, a couple of karts off, and that looks like Yellow Pages. Kart number 33, Neil Bernick of South Africa, he's gone. And it looked as though number 32 as well was involved there. And is that Wade Nelson, number 32? Let you know in a moment. No, that's Marcel Angel. Marcel Angel also off. So a couple of South Africans finding it a little bit hot in battle as they get in amongst all these international pilots in these bucket rockets.
Well, that's very disappointing for me, because I was very impressed with Angel in the first heat, and I hoped he was going to get even higher than he did in the first heat, because he really was looking a very progressive driver. But that's jolly bad luck on the very first lap.
Right, Irving well placed now in third position. He survived the bumping and the grinding in the first early stages of this race. Two leading South Africans, Marcel Angel and Neil Bernick, out of this race, because these are qualifiers for the Kart Grand Prix over 10 laps. That's going to happen late in the afternoon. Irving line in third position. We've got is it Buttigieg in the front as the others tear past. There's Gronstra, the world champion in kart number 1 from Holland, as he slides his way through there. Coming towards us, number 2 is Dave Buttigieg from the UK, 10 years in karting, 3 times British champion, and also loves to sail yachts, does Buttigieg, and he is on a roll at the moment and getting away from the others. One is Gronstra. We had another man go off into the fences down the hill there. Looked like something. Was that Irving? I don't see him in this leading pack there. 4 in your picture is Simon Culling. Is it Wade Nelson? Looked like Wade Nelson had gone off as they come down towards us. It's Buttigieg. It's Gronstra. There's Irving in third position. Derek Irving now settling down into this race. Right, and we've got 4 and 12 in picture now, Simon Cullen. And then it is Klepper, the Norwegian. We've got 8 countries represented here, of course, led by the South Africans. 25 in the lineup, or it started with 25. There's a lot less just at the moment. Irving is placed in third spot. Number 4 moving over to take him on the inside. Nice piece of driving there. Simon Cullen from the UK in the Anderson kart. He's been the UK 125cc champion, and this year won the British Grand Prix. So Irving's in very, very good company. Number 31, a new back tire they've got limited tires they're allowed to use. He's got another cover on at the moment. 2 laps are gone, we've got 6 to go, and it looks like Buttigieg is starting to walk away with this one, Robert.
Yes, he certainly is, but Dave has been a real revelation. He was out of karting for 2 or 3 years, and he's suddenly come back, and he's really driving as he did 10 years ago. It's unbelievable. And he's been putting up some fantastic performances. In the first heat, he had a fastest lap time anyway, and so it's not surprising that he's got his act together now, and I really think Kronstra is really going to have trouble if he thinks he's going to catch Buttigieg the way he's going at the moment, because it's already after just 2 laps. It's quite a big lead, but there's fun and games going on behind all the time there. And is that... I think that is... Yes, it is. It is Irvin who has come through there and taken 1 place. And he's chasing now Simon Cullen. And has he got it? Yes, he's held it. He has held it. Irvin has, Torge Kleppe has held that, and is chasing Simon Kleppe. Chasing Simon Cullen, sorry.
So the racing fast and furious, but for the time being, we go back to studio.
The South African Kart Grand Prix is proudly brought to you by JVC. We innovate, others follow.
Welcome back. Simon Cullen goes past us. Derek Irving goes past us, and Torge Kleppe goes past us. Further down the field, Wade Nelson's made up 11 places. He is really flying. His former world champion, Wade Nelson, and he is up into 9th position is Nelson. But Derek Irving having a torrid time at the moment, as Torge Kleppe from Norway is pushing him as hard as he possibly can. Simon Cullen ahead of them, and I somehow don't think that Simon Cullen's going to last this race. There was plumes of smoke coming out the back of his machine, as you can see it there again. Plumes of smoke coming out the back of his machine, and that looks like it could be the end of his race. Alan Eastwood from the United Kingdom also giving a few problems with himself, or with his kart rather, and it looks like his race is run. So there it is, Cullen from Irving, from Kleppe. That is how they are in 3rd, 4th and 5th positions. Further up, a 2-second gap almost between Buttigieg and Perry Gronstra. Kleppe pushing hard, trying everything he can. Ahead of him, South Africa's Derek Irving, who knows this particular racetrack like the back of his hand. But he's going to be taken on the inside of Nashua. That's a brave maneuver. And you can just see the extreme power of these karts as they come in and out of the corners. Irving looking for the inside, looking for the outside, goes wide, loses the back end of the kart, goes onto the curb, onto the grass. That's not going to do his slick racing tyres much good with 4 laps remaining. Halfway through this race we are, and Perry Gronstra has a titanic battle on his hands, the world champion. He's 2 seconds behind Dave Buttigieg, the two of them pulling away from Simon Cullen, Torge Kleppe and Derek Irving, and Wade Nelson rather moving up to 7th place now. There is Derek Irving. You can see right into the visor of his helmet, but he doesn't seem to be able to catch the boys up above, and it seems as though Rog halfway through the race he seems to get off the pace.
He seems to. I think it's the tyres must be going off, would you say, Robert?
I would have thought that was probably his problem there. It's a very critical thing which choice of tyres you make always here, and with a race like this at this speed, if you made the wrong selection, well, you really suffer.
And these tyres, of course, they're running around boiling point, very hot indeed.
Oh, terribly hot. When you think of the revolutions those wheels are having to do these speeds, it's unbelievable.
Right, 250 kilometers an hour they're able to do at the circuit here at Kyalami. 2 in your picture coming down as the leader, Buttigieg. There's the world champion, one Gronstra, the lap record holder. He set up a new lap record of 1 minute 23.75. That's a lap speed of over 165 kilometers an hour in the first race around the circuit. 12 in shot now is Torge Kleppe. It's lovely to hear them that they come from Norway and in here riding the Scandinavian countries back, as the Swedes have always been big in karting as well. We've got 8 countries in this race, 7 from Holland, 11 from the UK, and the Austrian, the Germans, the Swedes, French and Norwegians in this race, and of course 25 South Africans started off here today. As they go through yellow pages faster than anybody else and moving up there. We've got to pick him up sometime a little bit later. Wade Nelson in kart number 34 is starting to move through the pack from the back of the field. He's got himself up to 6 spots, and still Simon Cullen's machine is either running rich, but it's getting a lot of oil into that exhaust. He's from the UK. Kart number 4, that's Simon Cullen in the MSI Vehicle Security Anderson. That's a British-built kart. Rotax engine. They all use the Rotax engine. It's an Austrian twin-cylinder engine. With all this excitement, we'll be back in a moment.
The South African Kart Grand Prix is proudly brought to you by JVC. We innovate, others follow.
Back to the action, the Kyalami, Dave Buttigieg in the front from the UK. Grants was in second position. You can see Cullen in your picture now. He gets the hot puffer smoke. He's being challenged there by Klepper. Derek Irving is fading a little bit from the picture. We think it's tyres at this stage as Grantster comes through in second position. Remembering that these are qualifying races, so this just gives you a good position for the starting in the Grand Prix, Robert.
Absolutely. And the grid for the actual 10-lap Grand Prix will be decided on the best time they did in either of these two races. So that if you have the winner of Heat 1 did it in 11 minutes 40, and the winner of Heat 2 did it in 11 minutes 35 seconds, then the winner of Heat 2 would be in pole position for the actual final.
So Grantster, I think, with a record lap, must be favoured there, actually, to be up on the front row and in pole position.
That's what it looks like at the moment.
But Cullen's got a lot of smoke coming out when he's really pulling up the hills. That's number 4 from the UK, being followed by 12, which is Torgeir Klepper from Norway. And coming up all the time is Wade Nelson. He's now behind Derek Irving and probably going to challenge him before the end of the race as Klepper goes past. Klepper goes past Simon Cullen. And he really has passed him, starting to get away as they come out of Continental Tire Corner, around the brilliant signs, left-hander, and down the hill they go. This is the fastest part of the circuit. Slows them down and doing 250 as they come down towards her. 1 is Grantster, 12 is Klepper, 4 is Cullen. Derek Irving's a little bit further behind up the road there, and he's going to be challenged by Nelson in the very near future.
Well, it's amazing how these international kartists have come out to South Africa and shown the local boys that you can pass on the inside of Continental Corner. We have not seen that before. They're on their final lap as they have 3.88 kilometers to go. On the final lap, Simon Cullen, who has just been overtaken by Torgeir Klepper. And I must say, Klepper has looked very impressive indeed this afternoon. Perry Grantster sitting back in second place, but Cullen's coming back. He certainly is coming back at Torgeir Klepper as they go up the hill, up Winfield Hill towards Westbank, and that smoke really is pouring out the back of that Rotax machine right now. And I'm sure there's going to be furious work done before 20 to 4 this afternoon, before they get themselves out for the final of this particular heat. But in the lead at the moment, Dave Buttigieg, and the gap is extending to nearly 3.5 seconds. But look at that now, because Klepper has got a back marker in his way, and that could have given Cullen an opportunity, but I think Cullen is having engine problems. But let's see what happens. Out of Conti, over the hill, down towards Total Curve. There's the battle, and Cullen tries on the inside of Total. That is a very, very brave maneuver indeed. Is Klepper going to come back at him? Up they come towards Nashua. He's not going to be close enough. And the winner goes over the line. There he is, Dave Buttigieg. Second is Perry Grantster. Third is Simon Cullen. And fourth position will go to Torgeir Klepper. And fifth will be Derek Irving. And sixth is Wade Nelson. So 2 South Africans in the top 6, albeit in 5th and 6th positions. But I think the battle is really on for the final this afternoon between karts 1 and 2, because it was Perry Grantster in the first heat, and third in the first heat was Dave Buttigieg. But Buttigieg has certainly come back and shown the world champion a thing or two in the second heat, and we'll see what happens in the final later on this afternoon. It's going to be down to the wire.
And do you think Grantster hanging back there, Robert?
Not for one little bit, but Buttigieg is quite incredible at the moment. In the last round of the European Formula E Championship at the Österreich-Ring, he was really flying, and he said after the race he had never felt so good driving a kart in his life. He said everything was right, the track was right, the kart was right, and what was more important, he was right, and he's still on that high at the moment.
He certainly is. Well, I mean, he just took that race, it wrung its neck, and away he went on his own there, leading the world champion through to the end, and he won there by just on 3 seconds. So Dave Buttigieg from the UK won that one ahead of Perry Grantster, the world champion. Simon Cullen smoking a wee bit there. from the Rotex engine third. Torgeir Klepper from Norway. He's the Norwegian champion. He's been champion, in fact, 12 times. He won Le Mans this year. Great performance there by Klepper, if not mistaken. Then it was Derek Irving, the South African. Wade Nelson closing up on him. He was still 7 seconds behind at the end, but Nelson from the back of the grid. Some of the other names that you might know is Rainer Wimmer, Jan Swaneby, Louis van Schalkwyk, the third of the South Africans, Alan Pritchard. He's in kart number 23, and Pritchard, he won the British Grand Prix 1986, so he's got a lot of experience behind him. Then Hector North, the flying lawyer, he's got 2 11th positions today as Hector North. He hasn't driven these machines for a long, long time, and he's back driving and putting up a very good performance in a brand new